yeah, but don't be alarmed. I don't think it's unnormal. It actually seems quite normal. Cool. Well, it's always a great time to be here, because then I know it's Friday. So welcome to the Marketing Lifelines Friendly Friday, in conversation with like-minded individuals and business owners who actually just like to share and share like. What did you say, Myles? Not yet.
No. Oh, yes. Happy it's Friday.
Yes. Oh, but Joe, I agree with you. Not yet, but it's always a sign that we're coming to the close of the week. So
yeah, almost there.
And today we are joined by the techie Myles Baney from Cloudemption, Cloud Solutions. And we're going to be talking a little bit about why IT matters in your small business. And I've specified small because we want you to know that it is, whether you are a small, medium, or large organization, IT does matter. So don't feel in correlation to last week's talk about bookkeeping and accounting, you're never too small to matter. It matters from day one. And just in line with our theme for the month, talking about business and supportive services. So thank you so much for joining us today, Myles. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward.
Thank you for having me.
Share. Awesome. Okay, so just to do a very quick bio. I don't think it gives Myles much credit, but he is an IT guy after all, so we'll give him credit for that. They don't like too much technical. They like technical detail, but they don't like it when it comes to writing detail. So simply, Myles has said he's been an adventurer in his career, from exploring all avenues, including signage, being a handyman, and obviously more recently IT, which also has come with a whole lot of experience and associations with the likes of Microsoft and Google as a partner. And his company now is called Cloudemption, which is an IT-based company, which was actually launched during COVID and has to date proven to be a success, with his key focus in helping small businesses get their IT right. So thanks so much, Myles, and I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about the birth of Cloudemption in our very first question, because crazy to think how many businesses actually were born in COVID. So yeah, as much as it wasn't a good thing for a lot of us, in fact, it was probably one of the best things for some of us. So let's go straight into our questions for today. So I always like to start, I pretty much have the same format every week, because it just allows us to get the best out of the time we have. But tell us your entrepreneurial journey, and then how Cloudemption actually came to be, and also maybe just the name. I mean, yeah, interesting to always hear one's stories about that.
Yeah, cool. So I've always been involved with computers, more so as a hobby. Started many years ago with an XT computer, and yeah, always just stayed involved with it, but never ever moved into it as a career move. So a couple of years back, I started to make the shift and just get involved with other companies, making that move happen. And when COVID hit, then just put the time into studies, product research, and started to build the new business. I thought it was a great opportunity to just go through that shift. The name Cloudemption, yeah, okay, so that's like two angles. First, it was the root being in redemption, the spiritual thing, and to buy back or freedom. And I think Cloud gives us that. And the second angle that it came from was Cloud is something we can see, we can't touch, we can see the effect of it. So it's a service. And emption, the second half of it, is the act of buying. So buying a cloud service as a service.
Awesome. Sure. Okay. So there was quite a bit of creativity in that thinking there, Myles.
Yeah,
Love the name. I think it's, sorry?
it took a few days.
They always do, right? And it's always crazy to understand how we come up with our names, but there's always a story to be told, which is so nice. So hopefully you're going to share that story with us on your website soon, along with a more in-depth bio, because I definitely think we need to work on that together. But I think it's always so nice to hear when entrepreneurs actually say, I finally did it, you know, like, yes, I've been in signage, and yes, I've been in this, and I've done handyman, but I've always wanted, I've always had, always enjoyed, and I did it. So yeah, kudos to you for that, because I think that is one of the key things most entrepreneurs feel, you know, either if they're not an entrepreneur as yet, they're kind of stuck in where they think they should be, but they don't really want to be there, or you kind of are in the place that they need to be, but not really seeing the key benefits yet. So as long as you're doing what you love to do, the benefits will come. And that's why we're here to help you as well, to give you some key insights to build and help you grow your business.
Yeah,
so,
and I think, sorry, just on that, taking advantage of any situation. So yeah, with the COVID thing, you know, had that not happened, I'd still be stagnating somewhere.
Totally. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, as I said, it's an interesting statistic one would have to look at. I mean, obviously there were loads of businesses that were folded and people lost their jobs due to COVID, but in hindsight, how many people actually benefited from it because they could, A, like myself, change location to be with family, B, grow your business internationally and work with clients that you'd never dreamt of working with, or just having day-to-day meetings with people from around the world, you know, whereas before COVID, I remember Zoom, I had used Zoom, but not on the level that I do now. And how many people I connected with were like, I'm not so sure about this. I don't think I can do this, you know? And I do think it's like you said, take the opportunity, take the best out of every situation presented. And for some, as you say, it's given you the opportunity to do what you love. So let's talk a little bit more about what you love, and that's IT or computers or information technology, or however you want to claim it. Personally, a term that I like to steer away from, as I think many of us do, because generally we want to blame our IT, and often it's like it's not the IT, it's actually the user. But anyway, so in terms of IT, if it is implemented correctly, obviously I know it can help, right? So maybe you just want to explain this, how it can really help us, because often we see IT as just being more of a headache. Hello. Are you still with us, Myles? Or are you playing up RT now? What are you acting like RT when it just freezes on you?
Having a 100 meg line doesn't help anything when it's not stable.
That's fine. It was all part of the plan. You see, RT always lets you down.
Exactly. This is why you need somebody just for reassurance. It'll all be okay.
So now you have to even work harder at explaining to us like why RT can help us.
Yeah. Well, as you got it there, I got to have a 2.5 second break, so it did add value.
But for 1 minute, I wasn't sure if it was you or me.
Yeah, I was looking. I thought, gee, was you sitting awfully still there? Because I was saying the problem to me is the industry can be a little bit too accessible to everybody on the hardware side. And it sounds like a good thing because we can just pop down to Macro, pick up a laptop, we can order one online, we don't even have to leave the house, and we can have something delivered. Or we can pop into Builders and buy a Microsoft license. You know, how crazy is that? Buying software at Builders Warehouse. I mean, in saying that, I did move from that industry to, so I did that shift myself. So maybe Builders is going to change. So why is this a problem? You're going to buy a product based on a company's marketing strategy, financial targets, and then a sales rep with no experience in the industry. His decisions, we don't know if he's making them on incentive structures. So we can see how this can quickly all end in tears, that we're being sold stuff that we don't know much about by somebody who's just trying to market and drive up sales.
Yeah.
And a salesperson that's just, this one earns better commission. So like buying anything, you know, you can do it completely wrong. As a lot of people watching this will know, they're keen to learn about doing marketing the right way, because there's just so much useless information out there that will just lead you off in the wrong direction.
Agreed.
So from a hardware side, it can be a tricky industry when it comes to laptops especially. It's always best to get advice that you purchase based on your workload, what you're going to be using the machine for. Unfortunately, there's just too many machines being sold that are based on price and are just near useless. All the entry-level machines that you can buy from any of the stores coming out with Windows 10, they just, out of the box, they cannot run Windows 10. They just don't have enough resources. That's just the operating system. That's before you actually start doing any work on the machine. So you can run yourself into real problems just straight brand new. So I always suggest it's better to buy a second-hand machine if you're looking at entry-level prices. So buying a decent machine will go a long way. It'll save you, the time saving and the frustrations. It just leaves you to focus more on your business. Got to remember that we buy a machine, that its purpose is a tool for managing more and more systems that we're adding into our business. Software side, same issue. Everything's accessible. We can buy directly everything from the suppliers, the developers, and it's this, here we go, buy your key, see you next year for your renewal. And people go out and they just don't know how to use the software, or not using it to its full capability. Office is a big one. You know, a lot of people who just email, Word, Excel, and off you go. And there's just so much more. There's so many more products that tie to it, so many more tools that we've got available to us that will help our businesses in the long run. So I think it's these situations that make the industry difficult, costly, and just not a great thing for business, and scary to some people. So taking the time to get some support from our IT professional, help you make the right choices based on your workload, and making the most out of the tools that you've got in your toolbox, and take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that you raised that. You know, I mean, where to start? Okay, go online, search laptop, right? What can I afford? Buy. I mean, as you say, you can go down to Macro, or you can just go online, order it, get it delivered. You know, and then obviously it comes with, if it even comes with the software, okay, fine. All you want is, let's say, Word, PowerPoint, as we call it. But then, you know, with that, I mean, I've learned quite a lot about Office as well. And actually it can make you so much more efficient if you actually knew what was available and how to use it, you know. So I think, like you say, it's just having that relationship, or at least connecting, even if it's just a consultation, you know, with an IT professional to say, this is what I've got, this is what I need to do, like, what is my best solution? You know, how can I get to that end? Because exactly the marketing example, as you mentioned, it's like there's always a solution, but it depends where you're looking for your solution, how quickly you're gonna land up there, you know. So as you said, people can be Googling, you know, and going to these incredible connections, can't say the other word, and all these macros, and going to salespeople, not IT people, and giving you a solution, but then it's going to take you much longer to get to where you want to be, right? So if you just go straight to the source, to the IT guy, to say, this is what I need, this is my budget. I mean, I've even gone to an IT company and said, this is my budget. Like, you know, it doesn't mean because you're working directly with an IT professional that it's going to cost you a lot more. It's actually going to cost you a lot less in the long run, because they're giving you the right advice, you know, and then they're there as your backup. Because going back to macro and something goes wrong with your software or something on your laptop, they're not going to care, because it's not their responsibility. Whereas obviously an IT professional will care and will give you that support. And in that note, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right.
It just sort of another thing on that as well, and even some of the larger companies, just the support that they offer. I've got a client monthly. I have phone calls from them asking for support on the software. I'm like, number one, I don't know anything about the software, and I have no interest to learn the software. And you've got support, you know, phone your supplier, they'll fix it. And they just, because of the hassle, they'd rather phone me every month, and I'll go and research and find the fix and then fix it. It's easier just having a relationship with somebody who's interested in their company doing better, not the sale.
Yeah. Oh, I would relate to that totally as well. You know, you want to have that one person to streamline your IT issues too. Although, as you say, you may not know the system, but as the user, I would probably relate to that.
Yeah, relationship building with people. You get to understand each other. As a supplier, you know what the client's looking for, the way they want information delivered, and you just work together. Understand each other rather than dealing with another outsider.
Exactly. And I think also to close that question up is just to go to a source that you can go back to, you know, that you can say, listen, Myles, you sold me this laptop, you know, based on my expectations. I'm struggling with this. Myles will there support you and make the necessary recommendations. Whereas if you do buy an online, take a lot, you know, you're just a number, and, you know, you're not going to get the support you need. Okay, so let's look at cloud as well as an interesting topic. Another term we obviously frequently use. Can you maybe just also elaborate a little bit around cloud and what makes cloud so accessible, a good investment, why cloud? Share with us a little bit maybe around cloud.
Okay. So a good marketing word, and well done to all of them giving us something to talk about. So cloud, I think, best understood as a real cloud. You know, you can drive past a data center, you can see it, you can see how it delivers us information like email. You know, these are things that come out of the cloud, but we can't touch it like a real cloud. If you try with a real data center, you'll probably get shot because there's high security around it.
Yeah.
So cloud itself is just a warehouse with rack computers. You know, pretty powerful computers. You know, dual processors, error correcting RAM, RAID storage, and these all add up to a very stable and reliable machine, but very costly. So a lot of these things that, you know, our home machines, our consumer machines, and even, you know, I mean, companies with big, powerful machines just don't have, we don't run error correcting RAM as a standard. We don't often run RAID storage for data integrity and safety. So we leave it up to them to run these high spec, precise machines, and then they take it and then they'll split the resources up of that machine into virtual machines, and this will make the smallest unit of computing power. So it's a part of a larger computer, and then you just get a little share of the RAM, one or two CPU cores of a CPU, and that'll be allocated to you. And then going up to the biggest, where they'll be tying multiple machines together to all work together as one machine. And this is elastic computing, and you can chop and change this on the fly. So placing an order to upgrade, downgrade, or if it's designed around the system, as demand increases, these machines will allocate more resources as need be. What this means for us is, so you can deploy for me a telephone system at a client's premises on a machine there, and it'll work great until load shedding, cable theft, hardware failure, any number of things can go wrong. So I deploy to the cloud. They have a reputation to uphold, like 99.999% uptime, data reliability, without fault, data security. And on that data security, there's often a concern with people on this, but the fact of the matter is it is actually safer with them. Expanding on that security a bit more, is we hear stories or read articles about data breaches and this kind of thing all too often. But this is often companies who are hosting their own data rather than cloud providers. So running their own data centers, which essentially becomes a cloud, you know, externally, you know, when you're offsite. But hosting with cloud providers are dealing with other people's data all the time, so it's a lot riskier for the incorrect stuff to come in, viruses, bugs, malware, anything like that. So they got a lot more checks and balances in place to make sure that nothing infiltrates their system or gets, you know, if it gets into the system, it's contained within an area and it doesn't spread from there. So, you know, they with these checks and balances, they for them, they can lose billions of income based on data breaches. So they make the effort to avoid this. Whereas our home office, we've got very little experience when it comes to firewalls, data encryption. So
essentially, it seems like a safer, a more affordable, and definitely a more available, because as you said, doesn't matter what happens, you know, whether it be the load shedding or the hardware crashes, a cloud is kind of constantly awake, 99.99%. So I think those are probably three key things to note, is that I didn't think about that. So cloud is always alive. It's never dead, according to the reality of South Africa and load shedding. It's definitely more affordable. And then obviously, as you say, from the security factor, I didn't realize it's actually easier to secure than kind of hard drive style stuff, you know. That is quite interesting. So
so they just put so much more effort into it, protect themselves, and they so they don't lose income based on bad stories going around about
Yeah, stuff,
reputation.
Okay, so let's look at the key. I mean, obviously, so cloud would be probably a good thing for people to invest in if they haven't already. But I think cloud is amongst us as well. I mean, everything we do on Google, if you have a Google account, putting it up into your Google, that's basically in a cloud. If you have a 360 Office 3, let's call them, sorry, the right term, Office 365 account, and you've got a OneDrive, that's in the cloud. So
Can I say it's the right term would be Microsoft 365 because it's changed.
Has it changed? So it's Microsoft 365. Okay, all according to me, 365.
Much easier.
So they're probably even upon us as we speak, and maybe even aware that you're using it. So let's just look at one of my best questions for the week is around top tips and things we need to know or things we need to do. So my question for you today, Myles, is what 3 things must every entrepreneur invest in to improve their IT journey for the better? And I'm definitely going to start. I'm going to start by saying a laptop, and then I'll leave the rest to you. But I'm going to suggest a laptop would be for the first priority. What are your other 3 things that you feel entrepreneurs should consider looking at to help them with their IT?
So just revisiting that laptop, and if you're trying to fit a budget, like I mentioned earlier, to rather go second hand, for me, going second hand is just a risk. Buying new and cheap is guaranteed frustration. So
where does that leave us?
Yeah, so you're better off going with a possible risk. It's not a guaranteed risk. It's just a possibility of a risk. Whereas going with a new laptop, a new cheap one, is going to be a guaranteed risk. Or learn Linux. Linux is amazing. I run a few different Linux machines. There's a large learning curve and implementations, but it will make your machine run like it's a couple of levels up from what it actually is, just because Linux is a little bit more stable, less resource hungry than Windows is.
Sorry, what is that? I've never heard of that. I'm like familiar with the Novas of the world and Dells and HPs. What laptop is that?
No. So what you're talking about are brands. Linux is an operating system, so it's an alternative to Windows.
And how do you spell that?
Linux.
Oh, okay, I say Linux. Oh, okay, I have seen that. All right, yeah. So is that an operating system like Microsoft Office 365?
No, like Microsoft Windows.
Oh, okay. All right, I get it.
Yeah, so there's sandboxes to run Windows software in. There are ways around getting some of your software across, but there's a lot of alternatives. It's just such a stable system. So if you're doing simple basic things like using your computer for email, Word and Excel, things like that, we can soon enough take an old machine that's just not cutting it anymore and move it to Linux using one of the Office apps there, and you set it up so that it saves everything in Microsoft Office formats, and different to the rest of the world, and still easily to communicate. It's just a great step forwards. This is how I just set up a machine the other day that was very, very, very weak machine, and that person has only ever run Linux because it's been from machines from here, and they've always had just very, very poor machines. And yeah, it makes a world of difference. Machine runs 10 times better.
So equipped with a good laptop and good software, what else are we needing to help us?
So software, spending time learning the software, just putting that little bit of extra time into it can pay off over time. The benefits are just unreal. Like you say, you just recently learned, some new things about Microsoft, and you can see the value it adds. The other thing for me, most important, is backup. It's such an important part of data. Cannot stress enough that it must be an automated backup. Majority of people will just forget to run the backup software and risk losing their data. So that's where, again, we come back to cloud. Cloud is the way to go. The prices have just come down so much that data backup in the cloud is so affordable now. When we had our floods in April, so came to after the floods, there was a couple of days without electricity. Came back to my office, I've got a PC and switched my machine on, and it wouldn't start up. It's a big fancy machine. I built it in November 2019, so it's still within the motherboard is packed up. It's within its 3-year warranty, but it's a high spec machine. It's a Ryzen 7, 32 gigs RAM, dual NVMe drives, full monitor. It's like, the full works, and the thing just wouldn't switch on. So very disappointing. But I grabbed one of my laptops, logged in all my accounts, my Microsoft accounts, emails, things like that, left it running overnight. The next day, all my data was there, just carrying on working, connected up to my monitors, and work as usual while my motherboard's in for checking if they'll replace it under warranty. When the machine comes back, switch this one off, switch that one on, and all the data will be transferred across to the machine. So no hassle, no fuss, you're ready to go. So that's backups, why it's so important. And then one other thing that I'm going to touch on as a bonus is we spend a lot of time. We realize the importance of our marketing, of follow-up emails, just staying connected with clients, proving to clients good quality of service, stability, reliability, things like that. And for me, it's so important, the landline. Having a landline number just makes a huge difference. And we if we think about it ourselves, if you're looking for a new service for your business, you've got a couple of options in front of you. Which one are you going to choose? And it's going to be based on people who've done marketing correctly. They've got that information there. They look professional, and telephone lines are a big thing to me.
And that's obviously also not a typical telephone line as we knew it once upon a time, but rather as we've recently been not recently, but you've introduced us to voice over IP. So again, doesn't matter if the phone lines are down or internet's electricity's down, the phone lines will continue to work. And also, as far as I know, that can be directed to your cell phone anyway. Although it's a landline, you can be on holiday for that matter, and somebody can contact you on your landline.
Exactly. And then just planning ahead for expansion of your business as you grow. Eventually you're going to come to a point where you can't be answering all the calls coming in, and it needs to be split to different people. So now not handing over your cell number that everybody communicates on. You then rediverting the calls to a new location, and so it's just future proofing.
Awesome, I like that, and I think it also kind of gives that sense of I don't want to say credibility, but that sense of professionalism, having a landline you know, it's just not just your cell phone. I guess it's almost like the Gmail account thing, you know, seeing a Gmail account versus a proper URL also for me immediately sets that like, oh my gosh, are they serious about business or not? So that would maybe be one of my recommendations, is if you've got a Gmail account and you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, get yourself a URL. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. .co.za's are like 79 Rand a year. It's really not a lot of money, and it adds a lot of credibility, brand awareness, and definitely works much nicer than the Gmails. So I know we've taken up quite a bit of time, so let's jump into our last question. So thanks for those more than 3 things. My one, so I think we landed up on about 5. It was definitely the laptop, as Myles has said, whether it's preferably a second-hand or new. Softwares that support you and having an understanding as well as what is available and what can help you, and also backup as a key factor to ensure your data is always available, because that, especially if you're working with clients' data, and like me working on presentations of hundreds of slides, you do not want to lose your data. And then lastly, as he said, setting up a landline and, or as we said, Gmail account, get rid of those and invest rather in a professional domain. So to close, I always like to ask an opinion question. In your opinion, do you believe there is something else beyond cloud or voice over IP, or what is the next best thing? I know we talk about AI a lot already, and it's still such a new term and people are still getting used to this, but is there anything maybe that you would like to share with us with your vision of the IT or technology future?
So I think cloud's going to still be around for such a long time. It's not going anywhere soon. They've got so much more to leverage on economies of scale. You know, they save money by going bigger, and I think words maybe change, and that'll be in the department of marketing when they feel cloud's been overused, and then they'll switch to the next catchy phrase. Okay. So we'll wait for you on that. The future after that, I suppose the next big thing that's coming our way eventually will be quantum computing. That's still very experimental, and they're still working on error correcting, so that you can achieve consistent results. So that'll be our next big thing, unless marketing changes and gives us new words in the meantime.
So just quickly, give us a brief rundown. Quantum computing, what is that in a nutshell?
Sure. It's not something really you can do it in a nutshell, eh?
We'll leave that for another interview. But so we know that there's always something else on the horizon. There's always something in business. There's always something in technology, in life, in marketing to help us improve our businesses. Don't ever feel alone. And if you get stuck, you rather go and ask a professional, and they will give you the best advice that you can get. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Myles, for joining us this Friendly Friday. It definitely has been one indeed. Sharing with us all your IT knowledge, throwing us a few bullets of information we've probably never heard of in our lives. Some we maybe have, but not quite sure what it is still. But just unpacking some of those key questions to help us to start our IT journey as a small business or wherever we may find ourselves. So just thanks so much again for sharing with us. Really appreciate that you took the time to come and chat with me today.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and looking forward to catching your next sessions.
Awesome. Yes, and talking about next sessions, if you did like the interview, please go and like or comment or even subscribe to my page. I've always got some amazing content coming out on a weekly basis. And again, be joining us next week, Friday, same time, same place, talking about business. And then that's it for today's Friendly Friday. Go on and have a friendly Friday. Take care, everybody.